What's up, everybody? Sensei Grizzly. This is your January 2020 episode of Ask the Grizzly. I had a series of questions submitted regarding the process of kind of rehabilitating a sprained ankle. Restorative arts is a part of the Danzanryu Jiu-Jitsu tradition, which is part of where my Jiu-Jitsu is descended from. And part of my background is in physical therapy. I have my applied science degree in physical therapy technologies, and I've been practicing as a physical therapist assistant for over 10 years now. And I also have the 68 Fox Army Physical Therapy Specialist designator, so I can also practice Department of Defense side as well. First thing is I'm going to show how to properly wrap an ankle when your injury is still acute and you're needing to provide some support. So I'm going to use that, showing some techniques with the ACE wrap right here. And it just so happens that the ankle that I'm wrapping is in fact sprained. So the first thing I do is I make my anchor point at the base of the foot. I want my wraps to have as little wrinkles as possible because those can create pressure. Like you can kind of see where like this individual did the wrap themselves, and there's still some lines and some indentation here in the foot from where there were probably some rolls in there. Not too bad, but there were some. I also want to go distal to proximal because I'm trying to move the pressure with the swelling back up into the calf so that the muscle pump up action from the calf can actually get the edema processed back out through the circulatory system. So the other thing I don't want to do is I don't want to just do spiral wraps. The spiral wraps, the pressure is not good, so I tend to do everything in figure 8 pattern as such. So you'll notice that as I do this, it kind of creates like a little bit of a diamond. So it's like I do 2 crisscrosses, another anchor, now 2 crisscrosses and another anchor. So you kind of see the diamond pattern starting to emerge. And now that I've got like the whole foot covered, I can actually start to reinforce in the key places around the ankle. And so now the pressure is very uniform. You can see like the real pretty crisscross, figure 8, diamond patterns going up. And then once complete, I can use a piece of athletic tape or like the brackets that a lot of times come with an ACE wrap to tie this down. All right, so the next part of this is kind of like some of the exercises that you want to start to do. So what I'm about to show you is by no means exhaustive. This is just a good way to get started. So when your injury is still new, so kind of go in on my right foot there. Basic range of motion exercises is really what you want to start out with. You can do this with the contrast baths, which could be a whole nother episode by itself, where you're doing these exercises when you're alternating from the cold and hot water. But I'm going to show you just doing this dry so that you can kind of see. Now, I'm not going to get real deep into the weeds of like supination, pronation, inversion, eversion, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. What I find it easier to do to explain to people is just to have them do the alphabet. So by doing the alphabet, like there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. By doing the ankle alphabets, you'll get full range of motion. You'll go through all planes, and you'll kind of start to preserve that neuromuscular pathways, to keep all the muscles in the ankle firing and stabilizing while the injury is healing. So once you're kind of getting past that real acute phase, okay, where you can actually start to add some resistance, I would recommend using like tubing or pieces of TheraBand. This is kind of when you're kind of getting close to the end of the acute phase and kind of getting into the remodeling phase of healing. Okay, so a way of doing that is you can take like a piece of TheraBand or a piece of exercise tubing, okay, and now I'm doing the same thing with the ankle alphabets, but with resistance. C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. And of course, the different colors represent different levels of resistance. So those are some real basics. So we've shown the wrap so far. We have shown the ankle alphabets that you would do when you're doing your contrast baths. Like I said, which is, you can look up that process. It's kind of would be how to execute that process would be a whole nother episode. And then once you're kind of getting over that acute phase of healing, which is your first 3 to 4 weeks, and you're starting to edge into your remodeling phase, you can start to add some light resistance with the use of the TheraBand, still alongside using the thermodynamics of the contrast bath to help with the inflammation process. Okay, so follow me to the weight room. I'm going to show you some more stuff. Okay, so where we're at now is we're kind of starting to get into the remodeling phase of your healing process. So one of the things that we have to do is, the individual at this point has been bracing and wrapping for a while. And when that happens, the brain forgets how to stabilize on its own quickly when it needs to. So not only are we going to do the following exercise with quite a bit of resistance, but doing these cable walks means that the brain has to learn to stabilize in multiple planes of motion. So you don't want to use a lot of weight, just enough weight that you feel it a little bit, okay? And so we're going to go through all of our different planes of motion. So, and this is, for the sake of demonstration, we're going to call this my injured leg. Okay, so I'm going to start going posterior, and then I'll slowly walk back. And so you'll see how my leg has to stabilize in this plane of motion. Okay, now I can go step medially, and get the eccentric coming back. I can go anterior, get the eccentric coming back, and I can go lateral. You get the eccentric coming back. The reason I like to do this with the cable and pulley systems is that it kind of keeps the individual more or less in an isolated range of motion but still begins that process of developing the neuromuscular stability. And obviously, you can progress the treatment by adding weight and resistance to the exercises. And you can do 3 or 4 sets of these. You got to remember, rehabilitation exercises, they're not like a trip to the gym where you're trying to, burn 1,000 calories in a workout. They're really more for targeting those trouble areas in a very precise way, okay, and just getting those muscles to slide and glide and fire the way that they're supposed to. Okay, so we're going to do one final exercise. I'll meet you out there. See you in just a moment. All right, so we've talked about the acute phase and the remodeling phase of your recovering from your ankle injury. At this point, we're now kind of like at 8 weeks plus out, assuming that you haven't done anything to exacerbate it. So Bosun balls like this and like Dynadiscs are really good things to work with, because when we were in the pulley system, your resistance training and your neuromuscular re-education was kind of confined to individual planes of motion. Now we're getting into omnidirectional planes of motion. So you notice that the Bosun ball, squishy, has a lot of give. So there's both a dynamic and an isometric form of the exercise I'm about to do, where I'm working on developing this ankle neuromuscular stability. The dynamic version is simply just doing step-ups. It's stepping up and down. And you'll notice that my ankle has to stabilize because of the give of the ball in multiple directions quite rapidly. And you can do time rounds of this. You can possibly a 3-minute round, 3-minute rounds where you just do this over and over again. Or you could do a set number of reps. Okay, just depends. All right, and then the next would be just doing isometric holds. And these I don't recommend doing longer than about 30 seconds and maybe 3 30-second trials. So what I'll do is I'll step on the disc and go into single leg stance. And you can kind of see where I'm really having to work hard to stabilize. And I'm going to do this for a period of 30 seconds and then stop. 3 sets of 30 seconds. Obviously, I'm shortening that for the sake of the demonstration. It is a difficult technique, which is one of the reasons why you want to save this for the chronic phase of healing, which is 8 weeks plus at least, because that's really hard on the small muscles and the Golgi tendon apparatus that give your brain your balance sensations within the joint inside the ankle. If you try to do that in the acute phase of healing, you're probably going to snap the thing off. So just to kind of recap, we've talked about properly wrapping the ankle. We've talked about some range of motion exercises in the acute phase, range of motion exercises resisted in the remodeling phase, and then we've talked about neuromuscular stability drills in your chronic phase of healing for an ankle sprain. Okay, so just caveat, got to throw it out there. This is for informational purposes only. If you have any kind of injury, you need to go consult your physician. But just to kind of give you an insight as to why it is that we do what we do the way that we do in the sports medicine world. I'm Sensei Grizzly. This is your January 2020 episode of Ask the Grizzly. Hope to see you next month at the Southeast Regional USA Sambo Championships.